Oh, I should have had music. Darn it. Didn't think about it. Welcome, everyone. We're going to just start in just another quick minute. Make sure that we get everybody in. And then, Allison, whenever you're ready, I know that you're kind of checking the waiting room as well.
Yeah, it's just wait. It's counting down as it lets people in. I was waiting for it to get low. I think we pretty much have everyone that's was in the waiting room waiting to get in before we started. So hi everyone, I'm Allison Leckinger from Instructional Technology. I'm here with Elena and Brian, also from Instructional Technology. And we just wanted to start with this first slide because there are two sessions on Pear Deck today. And this one is the advanced session. So you are in the correct session if you've already used Pear Deck before with your students and run created slides and use those sessions with your students. And also the navigating between multiple tabs. In this session, we're going to be going back and forth kind of from Zoom to Pear Deck to the, all the different pieces of Pear Deck. You're going to join a Pear Deck to see it as a student, stuff like that. So just kind of, if you want to self-assess yourself there, and I will put into the chat. If actually one note here, the chat, if you could keep that for questions only, you don't have to use that for attendance. That will be done at the end with the survey. I am about to put in the chat a link for the beginner session. So if you think that you need to switch into the beginner session, the link is there. It's also on the website for today. So you can easily get to that one. So again, if you could use the chat just for questions, that will help us throughout this session. And I'll continue to put the link a couple times here for people that are entering here for the beginning session. And again, so the chat will be for questions, and we will hopefully be able to answer them all. We've got a, kind of a stopping point halfway through, and I'll be monitoring that as we go.
And I think too, that's why we have this checklist. It's more just for you guys just to be aware that if you don't have as much experience with Pear Deck, you might feel like this is going a little too fast. And just please know that, unfortunately, being that this is an advanced level, we cannot address everybody's needs from beginner to advanced. And because this is an advanced level, we really want to focus on the teachers that have a little bit of experience with Pear Deck to the ones that have quite a bit of experience. So again, if you feel in any way that this is going a little too fast for you, maybe we're not asking some of those or answering some of those questions that maybe would be addressed in Pear Deck in introduction, the beginning level class. Please make sure, just go ahead, and we don't feel anything about that. Like go to the other link and check out the YouTube video or the YouTube live video of the beginner class. You will record this and actually let me, I guess, move to the other slides, and then you
can go ahead.
Recording. So here we are, right?
Just so that everyone is aware, as Elena goes to the next slide, this session is being recorded and will be posted that you can watch after the fact. So if you do decide to go to the introduction session now, you can always watch this one later after you do have a little bit more experience. And as I've already addressed, the beginning session, that one, if you go to that one, you can have this one recorded, or if you stay in this one and you think you want to watch that one, they'll all be recorded, all the sessions from today. And then the chat for today, we'll just make sure that that's for questions only. It's, you don't have to say present or your ID number. There will be a survey at the very end of this from the district that you will complete for your attendance for this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're gonna have you do, I'm gonna go get a link for a Padlet here that we are gonna use throughout this session, as well as the chat. We're gonna monitor that, but we're also gonna be monitoring this Pear Deck, this Padlet here. And if you go ahead into the chat now, you'll see a link for a Padlet. And that is, we've got a few different things there. So one is, since this is an advanced session, we know there are some people out there who are here today who could probably even be teaching this session. So if you have some tips or tricks that you have found from using Pear Deck over the years that you'd like to share, please go ahead. If you don't have anything, you don't have to put anything on here. So these are just, tips and tricks that you might have from experience. And if you have any ready-made Pear Deck slides that you want to share, if you could post those in column 2 for if you put the topic and grade level, that would help out so people can see if you'd like to share some, because that's one of the best things about Pear Deck is it's made in Google Slides, so you can share with people and they can make their own copies and use it with their own students. So you can co-plan with teachers that you work with. And when I say co-plan with teachers you work with, you're not limited to people within your building, right? So we're all virtual at this point. So you could be co-planning with people across the district, across, the United States. So you can definitely share with people that way. The third column will be for questions you still have and your name if you would like us to, if you don't think that we got back to you during this, because, throughout it, we'll try to answer some of these, but if not, we'll try to get back to you. And then at the end, we're also going to use it for aha moments of using Pear Deck. So what are some of the aha moments from this PD that you learned that you think would be helpful to share with people? So I'll be reminding people, but we'll be using that throughout today's PD.
So our targets for today, we want to be able to learn the workflow of facilitating synchronous and asynchronous remote lessons with Pear Deck. And then we're also going to explore the teacher dashboard, looking at the feedback and student takeaway tools to help us understand student learning a little better. So one thing you want to be sure you check is your Pear Deck settings. If you go to the app.peardeck.com site, we're going to show that here. This is where you can go in and actually change the settings for your account in Pear Deck. So there's just a couple things we want to point out here. So once you get to the site, you just want to log in. You're going to use your Google account. And then in the upper right corner is where you see your account. And since the district paid for the premium version, you should all see that nice little crown on top of your icon there. If you click on that and then go to My Account, it opens this page up. And over on the left there, you want to click on Settings. So this is where, in the beginning there, you have that little question when you join a Pear Deck, how are you feeling today? You can turn that on or off just with the little toggle there. It does have Immersive Reader as the second one, which you can turn on. So that'll allow the students to use Immersive Reader on the slides in your Pear Deck. So some of these may not be turned on by default. You want to go check on it. The Google Classroom one, you want to make sure you turn on. If that's not turned on, you're not able to push the Pear Decks right to your Google Classroom. Also the takeaways. So after class, the students, you can do the takeaways to have them get a takeaway document of the work they did in the Pear Deck. And then that last one, I suggest you turn that one on and select Google. So that way the students come in with their Google accounts to your Pear Deck. If that is not turned on, you'll see like anonymous and it'll have images of animals for their different accounts. So you really want to go in and make sure that's turned on before you go in and use it with students. So
and then I don't know if there was questions about Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader, just really quickly, when a student, when the immersive reader is on and you are running the Peer Deck session, the students will get this little icon on the bottom of every slide, not even just the slides that were turned into Peer Deck. And what happens is when the student clicks on that slide, it will open up a new tab, and it will read to them everything that was on the slide. So I think that's just a nice tool for all of our students.
And it's nice that it's not just on the Pear Deck slide. So another part you can look at, where'd you go here?
I was gonna go to the my side. Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, okay. If you go into your teacher dashboard and go to your sessions, just a couple things we were pointing out there. It's that same page, just go to sessions there. Over on the right, there's those 3 dots. So if you click on those, it opens that little sub menu for you. This is where you can reopen a session that might be closed. You can rename your sessions, archive old sessions, get your student takeaways, and export the data to the spreadsheet. So the teacher dashboard is where you can go and find that.
And I was just going to add about the exporting to spreadsheet, because I did notice in the Padlet, someone commented about student responses. When you export the spreadsheet, you will get a compilation of all student responses in one spreadsheet of that one session that was run. The only thing that you do need to be aware of, any drawing items will not show up in the spreadsheet. Kind of makes sense because it's an image really, but it will be anything that you ask, short answer questions, multiple choice questions, those kind of things will show up in the spreadsheet. Do you want to say anything, Brian? So right here,
so the second one, yeah, if you click on that second icon,
I don't know if I want to click on it.
That will open up the actual teacher dashboard window. So if you ever need to go back to your dashboard, if we've closed it and stuff, you can go in here and open the dashboard for those sessions. And I did use the reopen a session the other day where we had completed it and the teacher said, you know, she wants the kids to go back into the session that she closed to revise some of the work they did. So you can go in here and reopen your sessions back up to students.
And then too, you notice this right here, that's the presentation mode. Some of them you can't open. Those are the ones that are closed sessions. So as soon as you reopen it, this will open up. So you can click on what you would show the students right from here. So notice if it's live still going on or student pace, you can click on that. Okay, are there any quick questions that we need to, we think we should address before I go to the question types?
Sorry, I was muted. Not so far.
Okay. So we know that this is more advanced, so you should already have created some presentations and added some questions to the presentations with students. Today, we wanted to just quickly talk a little bit about 2 specific question types. One is embedding websites, and the other one is if you want to sort, because there isn't necessarily the best way to sort in Pear Deck. So we're going to give you some examples. Obviously, these are not end all be all, right? Like, and so I'm hoping that if you have a lot of the expertise in this group and you have been doing this with students and have been using kind of an alternative ideas of sorting or embedding websites, if you can go ahead and put those in the Padlet, those ideas. But what I wanted to show you was, first of all, on this presentation, which is on the Google site that you received information, and we could also put it in the chat, there is a link that goes directly to the Pear Deck help site, which has amazing resources, but it has a link to kind of some of the ideas of how to embed websites. Because if you do it right, and it will not work for all, unfortunately, but if you do it right, what it's going to look like is you're going to have information for students on the left left side and the website on the right. So students won't need to open a new tab, which is exactly kind of what we want, right? Like the less things they have open, the probably less confused they are, just like we are. So with that said, just I want to show you really quickly from the teacher perspective of how to do this. And then I'm gonna turn it over and actually have it as a student view so you can see what it looks like. So obviously you need to make sure you have your Pear Deck opened to do this. And I already added a website, but I just wanted to show you what that looks like. So if a website works, and notice how my Pear Deck is not showing up right now. Do you guys see that? Let me refresh this. So I don't know if any of you have had some issues with Pear Deck recently, the last couple of days. But of course, it's not going to work, when we're doing the session with, over 300 people. Why would it, right? All right, so let's try this one more time. All right, so we're going to go to Pear Deck, open Pear Deck. If that's not going to work, I'll try the Pear Deck extension. Okay, here we go. Whew, it's here. All right, so this is the website, and you would use this website icon. Now, if you get the right website, and basically Pear Deck is saying if it's a website that has HTTPS on it, then in this preview, you'll actually be able to see this website. So this website in particular is showing, because I think this is about the Great Wall of China. So we want the students to actually be immersed in it, experience it. So we want them to see it, right? So the idea here is if you put a correct website, a website that has HTTPS, then you should be able to see it in the preview. So, and then I'm going to again show you what that looks like in just a second. I'm going to just update the site. So I'm going to start this lesson. If you would like to try this as student, just so you can kind of see what it looks like, go right ahead. I'll open up the join code in just a minute, and then we'll also put the link in the chat. Again, it's just for you to kind of experience what it looks like from a student perspective if you are correctly embedding a website or a site that actually works, okay? So actually, I just closed that. Let me open that back up. So there's the code. Come on. And then I'm going to put the link in for you in the chat. Now, again, this is also why we talked about having multiple tabs. You will have to open a new tab here, or you'll need to go to Chrome, depending on what's going on with your Zoom and how you're accessing it. And then you will need to, I'm just looking for my chat here. You will need to then go to either joinpd.com and put in that code. And I see that there's 63 people already in here. Here is a link for you, a direct link if you'd like to do it that way. So I'm going to continue. If we can just put in the chat the join PD with the code, and you'll also see the code right here. But you should be able to, as a student, see what it looks like. I could also show you as a student as well. So what I can do is, I can, and I think we're going to show this in a little bit, but oh my gosh, where's my Pear Deck? Oh, there it is. But I can open a new tab and go to that same link that I just gave you guys, right? The student one, and it will actually let me in as student. So that was another thing that we're going to discuss later, but it's just a nice way for you to check back and forth. So even if you're not trying this out yourself and joining the pd.com, that's fine. You could look at the Zoom because I'll show you this is the student view. Okay. And so again, what's really neat that if you embed correct websites and websites that work, the students will be able to see on the left side information, and on the right, they'll actually be able to see this, right? Like see whatever it is that you want them to see. So they don't have to open a new tab, go somewhere else. So this is really neat. And so I just wanted to show you that that works with quite a bit of devices. And of course, I have to do it from here. So for instance, here's an example. You don't have to do it, but you can kind of see what it looks like. This is one for Padlet. So I know that a lot of teachers have been using Padlet. So this is just a great way, again, for students not to have to access yet another site or go to a new tab. You can embed the Padlet right there. You could also embed, and let me know if this works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. This is a, which I don't know how to say correctly. I hope it's fat, but I don't know. But it's a great site. It has amazing science explorations, investigations, and for math as well. So again, as a student, if you're not really seeing this, let me just move my items, but you can see right here. So in a sense, really what I would put here is the directions, what I want students to do. And then right on the right side, they'll be able to do and manipulate whatever it is that they need to manipulate in this particular activity. And what's nice with Pear Deck is it does give you, if you go to the help.peardeck.com, they'll give you a lot of information about which sites work and which don't. But as I said earlier, I showed you earlier, any site, if you want to just check, put it in and see if it's embeds. You can even do it with YouTube videos. So this is a big one because I don't, if you go to YouTube, okay, and so here's my YouTube video. And so again, if you want to maybe right now look at my Zoom so I can kind of show you what it looks like if you're not sure how to embed YouTube videos into Pear Deck. So right here, I'm on YouTube. Now, most people, what they do is we click share, right? And we copy this link. The problem is if we put this link into the Pear Deck as a website, it will not show up. What you need to do, the workaround, is you have to go to embed. And really what you need is the link here, which is the HTTPS, and then you continue on until you get to the end where the quotation marks end, right? So the stuff, the website in between the quotation marks. A lot of times I kind of have a hard time copying just a piece of it. I copy all of it, and then in the Pear Deck, I just get rid of everything. So that's what this looks like, right? So if you go back to your Pear Deck, the student view, you'll be able to see now the directions of how to, and I put it in there, the directions of how to embed the YouTube video, but then you'll also be able on the right side see the YouTube video, which I think again is pretty cool for students because then they're not going back and forth from different tabs. It's all in one place. Okay. So that's with embedding websites. Again, unfortunately, not all websites work, but a lot of times if they don't, see if you can find that embed code, just like you would with YouTube, and find the website in the quotations. And that should work for most of the websites. Couple of other things, kind of switch gear a little bit with a different question type, and then I'm going to pause for questions if there's specific ones that we want to address with everybody. But the other question type is, what happens if I want to sort, right? So here is a sorting activity. And if you are in the student view, you'll see that you're not going to be able to do anything with it. So what happens with Pear Deck is when you create activities, even though maybe you'd want students to move these blue items or whatever it is that you have on the slide, unfortunately, you can't when you convert it to Pear Deck. What happens with Pear Deck is it creates a static slide, a slide where nothing can be moved other than the pieces you add to it that are Pear Deck pieces. So there's definitely a variety of ways to update this slide that could work. One quick way without doing much is just changing it into a drawing slide where then students will just type up the answers. Or maybe it's a drawing slide where you give them information to circle the inherited traits, maybe draw a butterfly next to the ones that are acquired traits. I don't know. But what I've done is I've kind of, I'm sorry, wrong slide. I've kind of transformed this slide to make it so you can sort. So, and what you'll notice, and again, if you want to check out the student view, which means you'll have to be on the joinpd.com to look at it. But here what I've done is I've taken the pieces, those traits, right? And instead I got rid of the tables. And instead what I've done is I've created the draggable icons to move to a specific trait. So in this case, they're inherited or learned. So I said, pick the inherited ones, obviously realizing that the other ones are learned. Now, the limitation to this, and I don't know if people are putting this in the chat or the Padlet, you can only have 5 draggable icons. So that is a limitation. And I know that Pear Deck is working very hard on that. So again, this is just one variety of way to do it, right? So will it work for you? Maybe you do something different. So we'd love to hear if you do something different, and go ahead and put that in the Padlet because I think people would really appreciate that. Couple of other examples, and I see people are playing around with it, which is awesome. But here's another example of a draggable icon idea. So again, you have here, and again, if you're in the join PD on the student view, so you can play around with it. But here, what happens is you have some content. So this is great for ELA with annotations. This is great for social studies. Obviously, there's a social studies example where students are finding some information, and instead of having them drag this box because they can't, they're dragging a number or the color corresponding to what they want. Okay. So that's an example. And I'm just going to kind of go quickly with this because of time, but so you can see, and I apologize if you were working on it, but here's another example. Again, similar idea. You're having this content that you cannot drag, but you can drag the colors corresponding to that content. Okay. And then here's one more example for math. Math folks always wonder, how would you do that in math? So this is a great example for math students and math activity where again they use the pairs and you can see the colors change. Here's an elementary example. The cool thing is with sorting or not sorting activities, but the draggable activities in Pear Deck, they have a lot of different icons. So here's an example that I think is great for elementary, or you could even, you could do it for a lot of different ideas. In this case, it's an elementary example, but you can actually sort specific mathematical icons. There's punctuation marks. So a lot of different ideas here. And I'm just going to go through 2 more slides quickly to show you some other examples. Here's one, again, where you're sorting, again, these icons, and the icons correspond to, in this case, regions on the map or the colonies. And then the last one is, again, thinking about a little bit differently. You want students to put something in order. So again, remember, you cannot, or students are not able to move these sentences in order. So what we can do though is put numbers in and say, put those in order, right? So if you're aligning the numbers to the sentences. So any questions with these type of activities that we want to address maybe? Or people are probably answering them as they go, huh?
Yeah, I've been trying to, and other people are helping me out, which is pretty great, answering these as we go. Someone mentioned about the drawing, but yeah, if you make it a drawing slide, you could have them with the one where you had them match with the categories. You could certainly have them, or in this case, write the numbers on the slide as well. So it's just options.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So there's definitely not one way to do it, which I think is great, so you can kind of play around with what works for you and also what works for your students. The younger students, it might be easier for them to drag the icons than it would be to type or write freehand on the computer. So it really just depends.
And with all the draggables, a couple questions now have come in that when you add a draggable slide, you choose the types of draggables and the size and the color. So you do get to change some of those attributes of the draggable items.
Yep. As long as it's only up to 5, and you don't need to have 5. You could have 1, 2, but right now you can only have up to 5 draggable icons on the page.
And we cannot change the default of anything. So like someone asked about the drawing, the students change the drawing. They get the same like template of tools, the same array of tools every time. And they decide when they're drawing on the slide what size and color they want. All right, so just we're about halfway, a little bit over halfway through. So if you had joined the session, or if you had not, you're welcome to, as you see up at the top. Elena, if you just want to put your cursor there, always in the top right is your code. So if you go to joinpd.com, if you haven't already, you're welcome to go there and join in. And then this is a drawing slide that we were talking about. So as your brain break, if you want to complete this image and make it into what you see there. And we're going to go look in. I have tried to answer some of the questions as well on the Padlet. I have obviously not gotten to all of them, but if other people out there know answers, please feel free to put them in there. And there are a couple people that have posted some lessons, which is great. So the others can kind of share and see what you're doing, which is great. So I thank you to those people who have done that. Trying to see if there's any real specific questions we need to answer here. So many questions. But I do appreciate everyone helping me answer them all.
And I'm just looking at some of the examples of what people have drawn. And
I was just gonna say, so what are people drawing? What are people making?
So I want to show some responses. I just want to, can you guys see them or no? Can you see the response? Oh,
no,
it's not letting me, huh? It's not. So there is a little issue right now with Pear Deck that I'm reaching out to them. If you notice, there should be a bar underneath to show what's happening. And for whatever reason, it's not. So what I'm going to do is really quickly stop sharing, and I'm just going to share because this will work anyways. I'm going to share my desktop. So, because we're going to talk about this in just a minute anyways, about the teacher dashboard. Here's your teacher dashboard, which, man, my internet right now is just struggling. Do you guys see that? And so what I've done is I've selected some of the examples, and I really wanted you guys to see them, but it's just not working right now. I don't know. It could also be because we do have over 250 people on this. And as much as there is no cap per se, it still doesn't mean that, it's working well with that many. But I really do appreciate, so a lot of us, have drawn presents, which is a perfect for the fact that it's Christmas, almost Christmas time and holidays. But it's really cool to see some other drawings so we can see, we got a dinosaur, person. I saw there's a tree, this really cool character, kind of dinosaurish. So some awesome examples. You got a bird with a tree. We see some artists over here. There's a rabbit. So a few animals, deer, so the reindeer, love that. So definitely some awesome, really cool examples. And unfortunately, I wish I could show it on a different view, but I am working with Pear Deck to fix this.
Yeah, and someone brought up about the names that we're able to see on what you're sharing right now. You can share them anonymously. This view has their names. Well, at least as much as you can see.
Right, Yeah, and right here is where you would share anonymously. Again, right now, this has been an issue the last couple of days. When you open up Peer Deck, you have the slide bar over here, and you're able to do everything, including showing responses anonymously. Somehow, after a couple of minutes, is just disappearing. So I have a ticket in for help desk. I'm hoping that they can get back to me and let me know what's going on. But I do think that also having 200 and some people on this probably doesn't help either. Um, all right. So speaking of that, we're on teacher dashboard, right, Brian?
Yep. So as we just looked at, the teacher dashboard is a great resource. This is where you can actually see what the students are doing in real time. So as we discussed, this on the teacher dashboard will show all your student names. So it's not something you want to share out in Zoom. But when you go into on a second screen or a second device, and I can watch right when my students are completing it. Like you could see the drawings be completed as they're answering questions. It's a great thing. You can also lock the student screens from here. And you can just click on lock screens and lock it automatically. But a nice feature is if you hold down when you click on lock screens, it will bring up those 3 little timers. So you can give your students a nice warning, like I'm going to lock the screen in 30 seconds and it'll count down for them, or a minute or 3 minutes. So rather than just abruptly doing it, you can kind of give your students a warning and they'll see it count down so they know to finish up whatever they're doing quickly. Next one. So the new prompt, you can ask questions with a new prompt. This is a nice feature because you can put it right into the Pear Deck as it's running. So you don't have to say, oh, I wish I had put this in there earlier. I forgot about it. They have prompts that are already made so that you can do like a quick check-in and stuff.
I don't know what happened. That was not me, I swear.
Yeah. So on that screen though, if you look at that first box on the left, there's a little arrow pointing. If you click that arrow, it takes you to a second page of their pre-created ones. And then if you click it again, the third page will take you to the slide you're on. And this is nice because I might have had a slide where I had kids answer a question, but then I want something else to be done. I can click on that and it'll allow me to add a text, a multiple choice. I can't remember what all of them are, draggable. What's the
Yeah, I
fourth?
think there's 4 different kinds. So it could be a number, a drawing, a text, or a draggable.
So I might have had my kids just do a multiple choice. And then after we're doing it, I might have said, oh, I want them to explain a little more. So I could go into here, add a new prompt, go to that slide and put in a text and have them actually explain why they chose their answer. So
And
it'll add the slide right in.
And that would be right in real time, right, Brian? So then you don't have to like plan for it per se. Like you didn't have a slide, you could just do it, right?
Yeah, it's not something that I would have to, the thing I like is you don't have to close it out. It just puts it right in the Pear Deck and adds the slide as you're going. All right. So then displaying student work, and we saw a little bit of this when she was on the dashboard. If you go in and display exemplars, the little star that you see there, some of the ones you might have noticed when Yelena was showing it, they were highlighted. If you go in and star certain exemplars you want to show, when you go to show responses from the actual Pear Deck, not in the teacher dashboard, it will only show the ones that you have starred. So that way, like here, she had 200 whatever responses on there. You might just want to show 4 or 5. You can go in and star those 4 or 5. So then when you click show responses on your Pear Deck presentation, only those ones will come up. You won't have to scroll through so many to find the ones that you want. That middle one there, you can send teacher feedback to students. So you can just click on that bubble. It'll give the students some feedback to what they responded, and they get a little notification right on their Pear Deck that they can click on to open up the feedback from the teacher.
And it gets on their slide, it's right on the bottom right. They'll get a like a, it looked to me like a cube, but it's actually a bubble with a little icon saying that
I thought it was a Q also.
Yeah, right.
So the last one there is also useful. You can hide some responses. So if you have some students that might put something inappropriate you don't want on there, you can go in and click and hide those from them so they don't show up on you. All right, next one. So this is one a lot of people ask about is how do I access the teacher dashboard from a different device, because you don't want to share the dashboard with your students. So the easiest way I think that I found out to use it, once I've started a Pear Deck session, you can go to your second device and open up app.peardeck.com dash. It'll take you right to your teacher dashboard, and you just log in with your RCSD one-to-one account. Even if you have a second monitor, that's what we would consider a second device. You can have that open and slide it right onto the second monitor, so the students aren't going to see it.
And you could do it on your phone too,
On your
which,
phone, yeah.
you know, I don't have a second monitor. So like for me, I like it on the phone, and you could still see, so you could see the student responses pretty well. And so I definitely enjoy that.
And then this next one, viewing your Pear Deck as a student, we get a lot of questions about this. When you're a teacher creating it, you don't really get to see what it looks like. It just tells you, hey, you put a multiple choice question on there. So what I do is once I get all my questions put on there, once you're done or you want to preview it, you just start your Pear Deck lesson. And then I open another tab in Chrome, and I just go to joinpd.com on that tab. And then I can enter the Pear Deck join code, so I can see exactly what it looks like as a student. And I still have it open as a teacher, so I can go to that tab and I can advance to the next slide, and I get to go through and preview what all of them look like. So you don't need a second device. You can just do it in a second tab to do that.
I think we have just a couple of other tips and tricks. And again, some of them are probably things that you've either tried already or you're putting them in the Padlet. And then again, you could always rewatch this. So we're kind of trying to cover and think about anything that might come across and some questions you might have. Again, based on, you know, your experience and already trying Pear Deck with your students. One of the things that has been asked is about, well, I, as a facilitator, I, as a teacher, I want to write on the presentation. So unfortunately with Pear Deck, there's no way to write on the presentation and have students see it on their student view. So either one of these that you're doing, either choice 1, 2, or 3, and there are 3 different ways that we can think of writing in the presentation. Again, there might be way more than that. But either one of the 3 that you would choose, you would have to first tell your students that they need to make sure that they're on the Zoom screen. So this is a big one with Pear Deck altogether, is you have to consistently remind students where you want them to be. Do you want them to be on the student view in the Pear Deck slide because you want them to interact with the slide, you want them to put the text in, to draw, etc.? Or do you want them to be on the Zoom view where you can see student responses? I'm sorry, my kids are home. So anyways, so for this case, for writing presentations, one of the things you can do is, as Brian showed, you can open a new tab, log in as student, and then what you can do is share your screen in Zoom in student view as a drawing activity. Now that to me is okay, and a lot of people like that. The problem that I have with this method though is you would have to make sure that the slides are were created in Pear Deck as drawing slides. So for instance, if I want to annotate the slide, I have to make the slide a drawing slide first in order for number 1 to work. In this case, I didn't do that. So what else could I do? The other method is, if you have used Smart Notebook or are using Smart Notebook, you can open it up and use the transparent background, which is found in View. So you open up your Smart Notebook, and I can try to model this. Let's see if this works right now. So I'm going to open up my Smart Notebook, and I think you guys could see it. And it's probably going to take a minute or 2 to open. So here's my Smart Notebook. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until that thing stops moving. When you go to View, you'll see a transparent background. Okay. So what happens with a transparent background is I'm having Smart Notebook running, but you just can't see it, right? You can only see what I'm sharing. But then what I can do is I can annotate on the site. Now, if you are in student view right now, you do not see those annotations. So you have to go to my Zoom to make sure that you see what I'm sharing, okay? But in this case, I can use different pens. I can use even like highlighters if I want to highlight information. So I can use everything from Smart Notebook. The also cool thing is with Smart Notebook, because you are, with Smart Notebook, you could have like multiple pages. If I go to the next page, it clears it. It doesn't. It's just on the second page. If you're a math person, I do want to bring this up because being a math person, you can use a couple of other things here. You can use, and I just saw that there's shapes that you can add, polygons that you can add, lots of different items here. I saw something really cool. Oh, right here, if I click here, check this out. This is just for math, I got to show this. But you could have, all those tools that you use for Smart Notebook right here. And then the student, and then you could, draw on it, all those things. So if you need a compass or you need a protractor, you could add those. And then when you're like, oh my God, this is too much, you just go to the next slide and it erases it. So I wanted to show that piece to you. That's the Smart Notebook way. And again, remember, clicking off of it, it changes it back to not transparent. And here's all the items that I tried to show you. So that's the Smart Notebook. And then the third way, which to me I think is one of the easiest, is to get an extension called Web Paint. This is an extension not only teachers can use, but also students can get this extension. And this extension, it looks like this when you get it. And here you can change the color. Not sure why it was kind of crazy yellow, but let's go with reddish pink. We can change the type of what we're drawing or painting, the transparency, and then I can write, right? This is thick size. I can make the size thinner. I can make the transparency bigger or smaller, and you'll be able to kind of write on here. And when you're done, you'll just clear it all out. Okay, you could also take screenshots with this extension so you can get kind of the the work to then share out with students for later on if you need to. So those are our workarounds with writing on the presentation. If you have other ideas or things that you've tried, please go on the Padlet and add those ideas in number 1, because I think, again, I'm hoping that this Padlet could be really helpful to a lot of people.
Just a quick note on that. A couple of people had asked, if you're going to annotate on it like that and you want your kids back in Zoom, that's a time when you would lock their Pear Deck slides. So then the students will get a note that, hey, your slides have been locked by the teacher. And then you tell them, I need you guys to come back to the Zoom session screen so they see your annotations. I think her toolbar is not showing up, so it makes it a little harder to lock screens and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's definitely a little tougher right now. I'm having a lot of windows open and a lot of screens, which I know all of you guys can relate to. This is where, a second monitor or different device works really well. So we have just a couple of other little things, because again, we just want to make sure that you guys are aware of so many things. And this is exactly what we were kind of trying to say from the beginning too, is we don't want you to feel overwhelmed, but this session is for teachers that already have some experience with Pear Deck. So a lot of these things that I'm showing you, if you're like, oh my God, this is a lot, that's okay. Just don't worry about it. Start out with just creating a presentation, working through adding the questions. And then when you start having those questions like, oh, I want to be able to write, then you could kind of refer to this recording later. But the couple of other things we wanted to talk about was the fact that you can always change your presentation from teacher pace to student pace. So basically from synchronous to asynchronous. And so the idea here is if I, as a teacher, I started this presentation in Zoom, I did it with students, and there was maybe a couple of slides that I wanted students to finish for homework or during asynchronous time. I also know that there's a couple of students that maybe couldn't make my Zoom session, and I want them to go back and do all of the lesson. What you are able to do is on the menu bar. And again, that bar, you could either do it in the teacher view, teacher dashboard, which is right here, which is what you guys could see it, right, Brian? You could see my teacher dashboard right now.
Yep.
Am I sharing
Yep.
it? Okay. Or you should, quote should see it on the bottom here. Right now we're not seeing it, and again, that's because there's just some kind of issue. It's seeing that there should be a bar here, by the way, because you could see my cursor changing, but somehow it's just not appearing. But in any case, when you see, when you look at it, there's these 3 dots right here, and when you click on the 3 dots, there's different options that show up. So in this case, what happens is if you want to end the session, you can just click end. If you want to change the session to student view, you'll click on the 3 dots and you will, in this case, it's turning off student pace, but you would turn on the student pace. When you turn on the student pace, you're going to get an option of leaving a session. So ending the session means the session's totally done. Leaving the session means that the students are able to continue going to the same link that you could share with them through Google Classroom. However, not however, but they're able to go on that link. And you don't have to be on it at the same time presenting. So that's what leaving session means. And then just like we showed you in the beginning, when you can go to your sessions in the app.peardeck.com, you can then go from there and open your dashboard. You can end the session there. So you can do a lot of those things. Here is also a way that if you forgot that you or you closed out your dashboard, your teacher dashboard, this one right here, I accidentally closed it out. You can click on the menu and open it back up. And you could also use the link for the new device. So there's a lot of different options. When you end the session, completely end the session, you can still reopen it as Brian showed in the beginning by going to the website. So that's really neat. Now, when you end the session, the other thing that happens is it asks you to name the session. So I would suggest when you're running sessions, call it, let's say it's algebra. Of course, I'm going to do a math example. So algebra period 3, name it that, so then you could run sessions every time you open your slide presentation. Maybe I have 3 periods of algebra. I can run them every time and just rename it. This one is period 3, this one's period 4, etc. The other thing that shows up is published student takeaways. So I don't know if any of you experience doing that. Published student takeaways is a great tool. What it does is it creates a Google document for each student that has completed this specific session. And what happens in this Google Doc is the student gets the screenshot of what the slide looked like, and then the responses that that particular student has completed for that specific slide. Not only does the student get it, but you as a teacher gets all of them also. So this is great, again, just to show not only student work for, when you're meeting with parents or in your special ed meetings, but it's also a great way for students to go back and look at their work and the presentation. So this is great. The big thing is about the takeaways, though, is just being aware that you can only publish student takeaways once for the session that you run. So what I would recommend is if you're going to reopen the session or you're going to make it student pace, don't publish the student takeaways. Wait until you feel like every student completed the presentation that can, and then publish the student takeaways. Because again, you can't do it more than once. with that, oh, there's just one other thing. This is just an extra. If you've noticed, if you are in the student view right now, you should be able to see my interactives going on. So you should be able to see my icon, changing color. I have a GIF right here of a woman, and those things only work because I have a power up extension. So this is just a little extra. You don't need it. It doesn't do much other than this. But if you would like, get the power up extension by again just going and adding, searching for power up. And this what, these are some things that it can do if you have it. So other than that, I'm going to just go like this to the next slide because I can't move it on this side. Okay. That was a lot. Is that what people said on the chat? Is it a lot? You're muted.
Yep, I was muted. Sorry. I think that we got everyone hopefully to the right place in the beginning, which worked out. I am about to post into the chat the link for the survey for this session. A few people have put into this session, they have put links to Google slide decks that they have used. If you have those, if you could put those into the Padlet that we have for this, because there are column 2, there's a spot and some people have posted some great lessons in there that they've used. So you can kind of go through ones that other people in our district have already made. I will put the link for the Padlet in here again. So if you put one in the chat, try to put it in the Padlet as well, so that people can access it afterwards. But I think hopefully we answered a bunch of questions. They were coming in really fast. We'll still try to go through and answer ones that were on that Padlet. So if you have more after this, you can add it to the Padlet as well. And then I think that's it.
All right. So, and with 3 minutes left, so thank you all for coming. If you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to us individually, or you can go through RCSD Learns, right, and access the help hours that we have. And that way, if you have any questions with Pear Deck, we'll definitely be able to help you. And I want to also thank everybody really quickly. Thank everybody who did help with in the chat. If you guys were, answering the questions, like Allison said, I know there's few teachers in here that can definitely do this professional development themselves and have as much experience, if not more. So we thank you for, supporting and putting in your tips and tricks, as well as adding your Pear Decks. We definitely really appreciate that.
Now it's going real fast. I'll post the survey a few more times. I think it's getting lost in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would read a question, and by the time I would go to answer, go on, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, put it one more time. There you go. That's all right.
Yeah, I put it again.
Scroll. It's not a big deal. Oh yeah, so someone asked, I could quickly answer. I don't know if we answered this. Is there a reason why we don't have help hours on Wednesdays? Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of times Wednesdays, are for professional development. So a lot of times we're being pulled by different schools, and so it's a little bit hard for us to do help hours when we're doing these presentations. However, within that case, if you want us to come in. And there's 3 of us here, but there's a few other people, right, doing the Pear Deck introduction and the seesaw right now. But there's a few of us in the department. So if you would like us to come in and do a professional development, specifically maybe for a grade level or content based for, department, or even just a couple of teachers or the entire school, talk to your administrators, let them reach out to us, or you reach out to us and we can definitely make this happen. But that's usually what we do on Wednesdays.
Hey, Elena, if you delete the slideshow, will your teacher dashboard still have like the takeaways and stuff? I've never done that.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why you would delete the slideshow though, but unless you wouldn't really want it anymore. I'm not sure. That's a great question. I have not tried that. But I will.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever deleted a Google
Yeah.
Slide.
Yeah.
I mean, I've deleted one because I didn't like, it was just a playing around one and I didn't want it, but I've never tried to like do takeaways afterwards from it.
Right.
Either. I'm not sure. I do have to end the session because we all have another one in 30 minutes. So we need to set up for that. But again, thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you again for all your help, everyone.
Bye.